For a millennium, the Atarian Federation has brought peace to the galaxy. Without warning, the evil Jorzon and his loyal forces suddenly sweep through the stars, leaving havoc and destruction in their wake. You must be the Sentinel. Use the ancient and mighty star cannon... What? Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Phosphor Dot Fossils. This is kind of a special one, because we are covering an Atari prototype from 1982 that never made it into mass production. Location testing went badly, players just didn't get the game, and so it languished in obscurity with maybe 2 or 3 machines having been made, and it managed to escape the world of emulation for many, many years. I mean, you look at it, we're talking almost 30 years, even though emulation has been a thing for about 20. Decent arcade emulation has been a thing for 2 decades now. And this game, Akka Arrh, was only recently dumped. And there's some controversy around that, which we'll get into later. I mainly want to talk about the game. And I'll see if I can pick up where I left off with the description. You must be the Sentinel. Use the ancient and mighty star cannon Akka Arrh to drive Jorzon from the galaxy forever. Or at least until the next poor loser puts his quarter in the machine. So, Akka Arrh. What did that even mean? The sad thing is, I don't really know what it means. I have no idea. It looked like something that might be an anagram of something else, maybe a name. I have no idea. So I went to the Internet Anagram Server, also known as iRearrangement Server, or iRearrangement Servant, which is an anagram of Internet Anagram Server. And it came up with only one result in English, which doesn't even track grammatically, and that is Arc, a arc. I somehow don't think that has anything to do with the game. You know who does know? These guys. Dave Ralston is one of the 2 designers and programmers of Akka Arrh, and this was actually his first arcade game developed at Atari. And that's gotta sting just a little bit. Hey, my first game! Didn't even make it to production. That's okay. Dave went on to an illustrious stretch at Atari for the next several years, working on such games as Crystal Castles, the Laserdisc game based on the Clint Eastwood movie Firefox, Paperboy, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and 720, before moving into the home computer and console space, working primarily for Electronic Arts and Capcom. The other primary programmer and designer of Akka Arrh is Mike Halley. Now, he was something of a legend at Atari, and as you can see, his resume there spanned something like 16 years. Starting out in 1982 with Akka Arrh and Gravitar. Gravitar, of course, did make it into the arcades. He worked with Ralston on Firefox, The Empire Strikes Back, and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. But Mike Halley's major claim to fame at Atari was designing a first-person space shooter called Warp Speed, which, after inheriting a controller from the Battlezone-derived Bradley Trainer project and a little bit of a major licensing coup from Atari's legal department, Warp Speed became a little thing that we know now as Star Wars the arcade game. Mike went on to work on Roadrunner, APB, Blasteroids, Stun Runner. It's kind of interesting to see that he's also involved in the other major Atari arcade holy grail that is still not on the emulated list yet, that being 1991's Marble Man, Marble Madness 2. Now, Mark Cerny, the creator of Marble Madness, was not involved with the sequel. That was designed by another Atari designer named Bob Flanagan, And Mike Halley's main involvement with Marble Madness 2 was with level design. But both Flanagan and Halley wound up working on Guardians of the Hood by the time that the playtesting results for Marbled Man came back negative, that the game needed more work. They were already busy working on another game, and so no revisions happened. Now, the interesting thing about Akka Arrh is that it is a trackball game, and I actually tried to get my PlayStation 1 trackball hooked up to my PC via a USB interface, which I do have an adapter for that, but apparently I am just now discovering for the first time, after unplugging everything and moving, that that adapter does not play nice with Windows 10. So, kind of a jolt of a discovery there, because one thing I did keep from my PS1 collection was not software but hardware. There were a lot of really nice controllers, arcade sticks, trackballs, and I kept that stuff primarily to use with MAME on my PC, and now I'm evidently going to have to find another solution, or I'm going to have to do MAME on another computer. So file that one under "it is what it is." I was able to get MAME to let me use my mouse with Akka Arrh, whatever that means, and so let's give it a shot. You have these zones, and the thinking behind the zones in the game is that you can electrify an entire zone with your blaster. You have to move your, use your trackball to move your cursor there, and you can defeat everything that's in that zone. If anything gets through, you have to zoom in and keep it away from the Akka Arrh space cannon. Now, as you can see, things get a little bit crazy really fast. You're doing well if you can keep your enemies out of the core, which I'm actually managing to do pretty well here. Okay. I haven't played this much, just enough to make sure that it's working, so in a way I'm actually discovering it right with you. Oh, time to zoom in. When you zoom in, I think you can see there's a little bit of Star Castle influence on the cannon's force field. There are layers. It turns around somewhere between Star Cannon and Sega's Eliminator, which was a vector game from 1982 that I dearly loved. I loved Eliminator. It was really good if you had the 4-player version and you had the right bunch of crazy people to play with. Okay, these little kamikaze candy corn guys, they irritate the crap out of me. Now, in theory, I'm not really doing a good job of showing this with how I'm playing, but in theory, once you evict someone from the core, you can zoom back out to the larger picture playing field and eliminate them as they try to escape. And they got me. Akka Arrh. A lot about the game's setup really isn't terribly intuitive, and so I can kind of see why this one stalled at the prototype stage. I'm really disappointed that I didn't... You guys get out of here. There's kind of a super zapper, sort of a smart bomb thing that you can only use once a level, and I try not to use it at all because I tend to find that right after I've used it is when I need it the most. Oh. Oh, these guys. These guys. I hate these guys. And I can't super zap them, so... Yep, they got me. See, I think if they had named it Akka Arrh, they really could have leaned into that and it would have been fun. The game would have invented its own catchphrase. Oh, these candy corn dudes again. Oh. Oh, I didn't mean to zoom out. And I am dead suddenly. Attack of the Kamikaze Candy Corn. Hate those guys. Now these guys, these round blue guys, I hate them almost as much as the candy corn, because they will build... They're there to build the wall. They will construct these things that your cannon cannot shoot through, these round barriers. Die. Just die. Oh. Candy corn of doom got me before I could even zoom in. And I think that's it for my quarter. Oh, not yet. Not yet. There's some similarities to Tempest. Somewhere between the Super Zapper that has to recharge and the enemies that split into smaller enemies. Oh, no you don't. No you don't. I do not want to build the wall, thank you. And I'm not even going to chase them out of there. I'm going to try to take down the barriers that they are going to come back and try to build more of. Okay. Now it's time to do some killing. Oh, they left. Chain link fence guys are a nuisance. But I got them. Oh, I didn't mean to super zap them, but hey, it went well. No, 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 go away. I like the, I kind of, now that I'm used to it, now that I understand it, I like the idea that you can eliminate enemies as they're retreating. You know, there's kind of a, kind of a no mercy thing that's fun to play with in a game. Not so much in real life, but, and I got all splody. Game over. 44,000. I guess that's not too bad considering that it's not possible for me to be any more of a novice at this game than I am. I see, I even beat Puck and Obi. So there you have it, Akka Arrh. Whatever that means. I think a better name. And the game actually went through two names. The original name for it was the Sentinel, which you see, you must be the Sentinel. That shows up in the attract mode. Another game that it went through was Target Outpost, which I think that probably confused people. Wait, are we defending the outpost, or are we trying to blow it up? We're defending it. So, as for the controversy surrounding the dumping of the ROM, supposedly what happened is that someone who was servicing one of the very few existing machines for the owner took the opportunity to dump the ROM without the owner's knowledge and release it. And then suddenly it wound up in MAME build .209. And on the one hand, I don't know who to side with here. It's kind of a crappy thing to have done. On the other hand, the ROMs are owned by the companies that released or declined to release them. Even in that circumstance, the ROM is under Atari's copyright. And so, now there's a new Atari game that can be released through the next flashback or what have you. Although I think this would be awful with joystick controls. I know when I first tried playing it with keyboard controls, it was not... it can barely be played that way, to be honest. So, the whole controversy surrounding that just really, if I might editorialize for a moment, it goes back to why I got out of game collecting altogether. I used to be very much in that world, and I eventually left it because there was too much focus on who had what, who had how much of what, keeping up with the Joneses, and I didn't have the money to play in that world, and once I started looking at how people were acting, I didn't have the inclination to continue interacting with them. So what does that mean for the story behind the acquisition of the ROM for Akka Arrh? I don't know. Both sides are right. It shouldn't have been done, and yet it shouldn't have been hoarded away. Trust me, if you've got a physical machine of this game, it's still worth something, because I guarantee you my wireless mouse over here is not the intended control scheme. So there you have it, Akka Arrh, a special Phosphor Dot Fossil for you. I hope you enjoyed this. I went into a little bit more depth than usual. This is kind of splitting the difference between Phosphor Dot Fossils and Select Game. And, yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of this format. Maybe it will be something to adopt in the future.